So what we're going to do or discuss in this video is the imputation of missing values. And again, the idea is to explore R and RStudio, and there's some nice packages always available in R that we can work with. And specific to this topic of missing value imputation, we're going to look at or use the R packages mice and Miss Forest. Okay, so again, we have a set of tasks that we need to perform. So our first task will be to install the packages mice, Miss Forest, and then we're also going to include the random forest package in this video. Okay, so the random forest is to fit a specific model, the random forest model. The dataset we are going to use is the well-known iris dataset, and we're going to use this iris dataset to produce missing values. So there's a function that we're going to look at, prod NA, so produce not available. So that produces missing values for us. And once we've produced this data set with missing values, we're going to do some illustrations as to how we can impute the missing values then with the Miss Forest. And then the second example would be with the mice function in the mice package. Okay, so in the end, the idea is to have a data set with missing values. We impute them, and then once the imputed data sets have been produced, we could use those data sets for further analysis. Okay, so that's a setup or the layout of our tasks for this particular video, missing value imputation. Again, what I did was I've created a script file that we can use. The script file again is available to you. Again, what I did in the script file, if I open it, important always is to change my directory, my working directory. And again, notice this particular folder that I have is this one over here. Okay, so I could copy this and then use this for setting my working directory. Okay, so this script file, let's look at it quickly. So we have to load these packages. So those are the three packages that we're going to do or to load and use. Then we're going to use the iris dataset. The iris dataset is available in R. And then next, once we have the iris dataset, we're going to create or generate missing values for the iris dataset. And we're going to save all the data files that we are going to create with the write.csv. Again, this script file you have available, and we can import this into RStudio. Okay, so let's go to our RStudio environment again. So RStudio, let's open the script file. So open file, and then the folder where I'm going to store everything, and also where I have the script file is this one over here. So there's my script file, and I'm going to open it. Okay, so now it's loaded. And again, just a reminder, if you don't have a script file available and you want to create a new one, so you can always click over here, and if you click on R script, it will open this window and you can type in all the commands over here. Then you have a script file. Okay, so let's work through this. Again, let's clear our console at the bottom, and then we're ready to do all the work in this particular script file. Okay, so the libraries that we're going to load Make sure you install all these libraries. So if you don't know how to install a library, so you just type in install packages, and then over here within inverted commas you can, for example, say mice, and then R will install the mice package. Okay, so install the Miss Forest package, install the random forest package, because those packages are not part of the base R. Okay, so that's how you would install packages if it isn't available in the R base. And once you've installed the packages, you just type library random forest, library Miss Forest, and so on to load the package. And once you've loaded the package, then it's ready for use in R. Okay, so these are extra packages to the R base. Okay, so let's load them by just typing or highlighting every of the 3 lines over there and Control Enter. Okay, so there's my packages loaded, and if there's any additional packages that are required, then R will load them also. Here's some commands that you may find useful. They help. So if I type in this command over here, I just want to do a quick illustration. So if I say library help equals mice, so it's the package mice that I want to view, then up comes this description of the mice package, and here's everything that you may be interested in about the mice package. Notice as you scroll down, there's all the functions available. There's also, if there's data sets in the package that you can use, but it gives you a list of all the functionality in the package. Okay, and this you can do for any of the packages that you are working with. And as I said, it gives you a good idea as to what data sets are available and what functions is available within the mice package. And what we are going to do is we're going to use the mice package to impute missing values. The same with the Miss Forest and so on. Another way of looking for help is to use the question mark. So if I type in question mark mice, then over here comes the mice package description and everything again. So using the library help equals the name of the package or question mark, and then the name over here refers to the function in the mice package. Okay, notice mice is the function and mice is also the name of the package. Okay, so these are for functions and this is for help of the library. So help of the library, help of the functions. Okay, so first thing to do is set our working directory, and as I mentioned earlier, there's this directory for imputations that I've created. There's this directory and I've put the script over there, and you will notice as we continue we're going to create new files, and all the files will be saved under this directory as well. Okay, so there's one file, but later when we come back there will be more files in this directory. So let's set our working directory with this command, and if you're working in your own working directory, make sure that you set this to your workspace or to your directory. Control Enter. The data set, notice over here the iris data. Okay, now maybe it may be useful to just to say question mark and then iris, and then up comes the iris dataset. Now notice the iris dataset is part of the datasets package, and this datasets package is part of our base. Okay, so that's why we don't need to upload or import this iris dataset. It's a familiar dataset made famous by Ronald Fisher, and it contains 50 flowers from 3 iris species, and the 3 iris species are the Setosa, Versicolor, and Virginica, and then the variables that's being measured is 4 numerical variables. It's a sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Okay, so again, just to view the data, so we can say view and then the iris. Okay, so maybe we just first need to load the data. So I'm just going to click over there, Control Enter, and then now we can view it. So over here I've typed in view, enter, and there's the data set. Okay, so again, make sure the data set is imported, or in this case, the entire iris data set that you are going to use, everything is there. So there's a species, notice it's at the end, and those are my 3 variables. So again, you can think of this as my categorical variable, or if you want to use it for classification, this could be our predictor, our response variable, and these could be our predictor variables. Okay, so let's go to the script file, the imputation script.r. Structure, again, you may want to see the structure of the data. Notice the iris data set, numerical, 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 and then the species is a factor. Okay, so it's a data frame. In total is 150 observations, 50 for each of the 3 iris species, and then there's the variables. Okay, so now we have a good idea of the data set. So let's go ahead and use some of the functionality. So first what we're going to do is we're going to use this prod NA. So produce NA, and let's have a quick look in the help file. So prod NA, notice over it's part of the mist forest package. Okay, so using this function in the mist forest package, we're going to produce missing values. Now we're going to use the iris dataset as we've seen, and we're going to produce missing values. So 20% of our data will have missing values. That's what this argument over here will do. Okay, so let's run this line over here. So let's highlight this, Control Enter, and now we have created this new data set, iris miss. Okay, so remember our original data set is the iris data, but now we have this new data set. And again, we can type in view and say iris miss. And here's the new data set. Notice there's the not available, so there's missing values everywhere, missing values, and we've denoted the missing values with NA. When you work in R, this is how you will always denote missing values with the NA. Whether it's categorical, whether it's numerical, NA, capital letters. So now we have a data set with missing values. Okay, so now normally in practice, your original data set would contain the missing values because that's how you would have obtained the data. Okay. Maybe at this stage, it's useful to introduce the write.csv file. Okay, so remember our working directory, we've changed that. And so every object that we create or every file that we need to save, we can store it to that working directory using this command over here. So there's my write.csv. So I'm writing this object over here, which is a data set, and file, I'm just going to call it this data set as well. Okay, so I'm giving the same name and I'm storing this as a CSV file. So if I run this command over here, write.csv, notice what happens now is that I have a new data set in this folder. Earlier it was just the imputations, but now I have the data set with the missing values. Okay, so that's the purpose of this. A first step would be, if you have a data set with missing values, maybe the first step would be to identify the rows and then remove those rows. Okay, so this which function over here is a useful command to use. And then complete cases, let's look at this function quickly. So if I just go complete.cases, notice complete.cases is part of the stats package, and the which function with this. So let's first run the complete.cases on this data set with the missing values. So only that section, and see what output it gives us. Notice it gives us just a vector of indicating where there is a missing value and so on. Okay, so remember it refers to the rows. So in the second row there is a missing value and so on. So going back over here and so on, if you scroll to the particulars of the first row and so on, so 1, 2, you see the missing values. Okay, so there's all the missing value. So if I type in which in front of that, you will notice it gives me the position. Okay, so 2, 8, and so on. That gives me the missing, the rows that we're dealing with. Okay, so there's the 2, and this one over here is number 8, and so on. Okay, so those are the rows in which the missing values occur. So what we want to do now is we want to remove those rows. So remember, it's in the iris miss data, and the miss rows over here will contain the index of rows that we want to delete. So let's run this entirely so that we can have this object available. So notice the miss rows will just be these values over here, but it's an object that we can now use for the iris miss data set. Now, notice the iris miss data set, we want to remove the rows with those missing values. Okay, so let's run this command over here and see what it looks like. Okay, so complete cases. Okay, I forgot to mention, you will notice over here that what the complete cases does. If I go back, notice over here what it did. There's a missing value in the first row, but the second row is complete. The third row, the fourth row is missing values, but over here row number 8 is complete. So this contains only the rows where there are complete cases. Okay, something to keep in mind. So if I keep only the complete cases, it means that I throw out the rows with the missing values. And this is what this command will do for us. So take out only those rows where there are complete cases. Okay, so then we remove the missing values. So Control Enter, and notice what happens with this object. If we view it, so going to the bottom, and if I say view, notice it contains only the complete cases. So all the missing values have been deleted. Okay, so maybe at this stage it would be important to take this data set with the missing values removed and write this as output to our folder as well. So again, if you use the write.csv command, then what we've done is we've saved the data set with all the missing values removed. We've saved that as well. So notice this is the data set with the missing values. This is the data set with the missing values removed. And you can view them as we viewed them in RStudio. Okay, so that's our second data set. Now we can start with the imputing process. Okay, so we have a data set with missing values. and we know how to remove the missing values, as we've seen over here with the completed cases. But often it's important to impute the missing values. So how do we impute it? And these are just a few examples. You can look at the Miss Forest package with the Miss Forest function. So if I look in the help file, notice it's a non-parametric missing value imputation using a random forest. Okay, and then you can read up further on how it works. Okay, so random forest is the underlying technique which is being used to impute the missing values. So let's do the following. So let's run the Miss Forest and then give the argument iris.miss, and this is the data set containing the missing values. So only that section over there, let's run this and see what it does. Okay, notice it gives you a list of outputs. One of them is the $x impute, and this contains, or this part of the list contains the data where we've imputed the missing values. Remember, the missing values that was denoted as NA is now imputed over here. Okay, so how do we get this part of the list? We can just take it out by using the $x imp. Okay, so then we take out this part, and then we can assign this to an object, and then we have an object that we have now called iris impute random forest. Okay, so this is now our data set, first imputed data set. Again, we can view this, and we will notice that it's 150 cases, 150, but if you compare it to the original data, you will notice that the values are now different. So for example, the first one, remember we had a missing value over here. Let's quickly go to the missing value, the iris miss. Notice there was a missing value, and now we've imputed it, and there's the value that we've imputed. Okay, let's look at another example. The missing value, notice over here, number 3, there were 2 missing values over here, and now we've imputed it over there. And even if you look at the categorical variables that we've imputed over here, so there we had a missing values, value number 9. If you go back and if you look at number 9, notice it was imputed over there. So the Miss Forest package can impute numerical as well as categorical variables. Okay, exactly how it does it, you will have to look at the function and the detail of the method itself. Okay, so this is our first example of imputing missing values. Again, since we've now imputed the missing values, we may want to save this file. Okay, so all the files that we have been creating, we can save it by using the write.csv. So it's important to keep track of all these functions. If you create a new data set, like we're doing over here, you may want to store all of them because you may want to use them later for further analysis. So if you've imputed the missing values, the data set that you have now created, the new one, you may want to use that later for a classification analysis, for example. Okay, so keep the data sets as you create them. So if we run this part over here, again, notice is my first data set that I've imputed. Okay, so missing values, there's where I've removed the missing values, there's where I've imputed the missing values. And the last example that we're going to do is using the mice package. And again, we can look at the help file of the mice package using the mice function again. Okay, so again, does multivariate imputation. You can look the detail of how it's being imputed, and in our example we just want to apply the mice package. Okay, so similar to the misforest function using random forest, this one using a different way of imputing the missing values. So let's go again and see how we can impute the missing values. Now there's a few functions we need to keep. It's different to the previous one. So let's first apply the mice. Okay, so like we did over here, we said miss forest and then give the data with the missing values. Over here we can say mice and then iris miss and give it the missing value. So let's run only this section over here. So highlight it, Control Enter. Okay, there it does the computations for us. And notice over here the output that it gives us doesn't tell us anything useful maybe. It just tells us what method was used in the imputation, the PMM because it's numerical, and then here a different method was used, imputation method. And again, it will be useful to read up more on the mice algorithm, categorical and numerical. Let's look at the complete function. Okay, so the complete, again, in the help file, you may want to look at what the complete does. Okay, so let's quickly just look at complete. And this is the one, complete. There's the function itself, but this function you apply with this mice function that we've executed over here. So if you run this whole thing, Control Enter, notice what it gives you. It gives you the completed data set. Okay, so we can assign that to an object. So once I've assigned this to an object, we can view this one over here. So again, I give it the name iris impute using the mice package. So view, and there's the data set that's been imputed. Okay, so again, remember, if we look at the iris missing, there was a missing value over here, and the mice package imputed that as 3.2, whereas the random forest imputed it as 3.15. And in the original data set, if you go to the iris original, it was 3.5. Okay, so in the original, when we started 3.5, mice estimated it as 3.2, and Miss Forest estimated it as 3.15. Okay, so we've seen how the mice package works, but this whole instruction over here gives you the instruction to impute the missing values in this file using the mice package. And again, once you are done, you may want to save the data set by using the write.csv again. Control Enter, and then saved over here will be my values over here, the mice. And these over here you can use for whatever purpose you need it for, because we've imputed the values. Okay, so that concludes the discussion of how we would impute the values using the mice and the Miss Forest package. There's probably a lot more packages available, but this introduces the idea of imputing missing values in a multivariate dataset. Thank you.